We are incredibly lucky to live in a country where every child receives an education. It is a fundamental right for our kids, and we all agree that our school should be terrific. But there's a disconnect. Kids aren't learning how to be engaged citizens in our school. People are really passionate about education, and we have a constant, often strained, and very public debate about how to go about making our kids' education extraordinary. Some groups frame education policy in terms of testing. Our kids compared with their kids in math and reading, our teachers' results compared with their teachers' results. In essence, performance, and how that performance is determined. Others characterize the debate in terms of resources: money for school buildings, libraries, programs, higher teacher salaries, more teachers, and more tools to help them do their best. More money for education, rather than for another priority. Every one of those issues is important, and we're lucky to live in the United States, where a national conversation precedes decisions about how we allocate our resources. And it's fantastic that we have so many smart and passionate people searching for the best answers. That's how and why America works. But if we know anything, we know that education is a complex concept. So, there's one thing about education that is simple, and right now, I don't see it happening in schools. The root of everything that we do as a country, everything that we are as a nation, we are citizens of the United States. Our kids are citizens of the United States, and our schools are educating U.S. citizens. But kids aren't learning how to be engaged citizens, how to participate, how to contribute, and how government works. Why is that? Why are we not teaching citizenship, at least in the early grades, where it could be the most effective? We teach our K-5 kids math, we teach them reading, we teach them science. But there's nothing about what it means to be an American, our responsibilities, how we govern ourselves, and how we make the big decisions. We teach them nothing about civics until middle school, and that is a failure on our part, in a country where we revere our status as citizens. And middle school kids are just not as receptive as K-5 kids. They're thinking about other things, and they have no foundation for understanding civics. But you know what? There's an easy way to do it. So, here's my idea. And it's something we've been working on at my nonprofit. I don't think we should start teaching civics and citizenship in middle school. I believe civic literacy can begin and must begin in the early grades if we are to educate and empower a generation of informed citizens. No, I don't think second graders should be learning all those presidents, or first graders should be learning about the Electoral College. Let's save that for high school or even college. I believe we should weave stories about citizenship into the books we use to teach reading. Stories about influential Americans, American heroes, politicians, businessmen and women, pioneers of innovation and thought. We can weave a message of citizenship into the books we use to teach learning, to teach reading, and thereby educate and empower a group of informed citizens. Kids should know who their mayor is, and the concept of local government should be a part of their base level of understanding. Kids should know that if a playground is closing, they have the right to object, and they should know to whom. A 10-year-old can easily understand that he or she could write a letter to the mayor seeking action. And an 8-year-old can, without a doubt, go to a town council meeting to argue against that playground closing. Now, I'm not advocating for K-5 civics class. After all, how many of us would enjoy that? Kids and teachers have enough going on, and learning how a bill becomes a law can wait until later. But every one of our K through 5 kids is capable of knowing who to reach out to when a basketball hoop is removed. Citizenship doesn't need to be specialized learning in these early grades. Rather, something simple and absorbed, like knowing how to use a computer. So what will the outcome be if we take this approach with our K through 5 kids? Well, when these students go on to the 8th grade and reach that 8th grade civics class, they will already know how local government works. They'll have an understanding and a literate frame of reference, and that makes all the difference. They are going to be much more likely to be interested in their middle school and high school classes. And maybe they'll even go on to be political science majors, like yours truly. So, some people might say, do we really need this? Our kids are doing fine. Why do we have to teach them about elections and government? Well, consider this. I could probably walk up to any one of you in this room, and I could ask you to name your favorite Kardashian sister, or who won Dancing with the Stars, or who your favorite character is on Glee. But could you all name your mayor, your council person, the majority and minority leaders in the House and Senate? Now, I'm sure all of you probably could because you're smart, bright, young people, but most Americans can't. And this is a failure of education, our failure. An important gap that fortunately is easy to fill. So, rather than having 5th graders memorize state capitals, because I think we can all agree that is not fun, let's teach them what goes on inside the Capitol. Reality television trivia is not going to secure the future of our society. And knowing how things work and how government functions is important because our government was created and designed for a well-educated and well-informed populace. So, let's see how this plays out in a real-world example. As part of part of being an American is to embrace multiculturalism and diversity. Here in Arizona, we're required to teach about Native American art and culture in schools. But until about 3 years ago, our teachers didn't really have all the tools to do so. So I set out to write a book about Native American art and culture and then distribute it to all 4th grade classrooms. I thought it would be pretty easy, like a big school assignment or a long paper. But when my well-educated friends were asking me if Native Americans still live in teepees or if they speak English, I realized it might be a little bit harder than I thought. It took me almost 2 years to write this book, set up a nonprofit, and get everything in place so I could gift a copy of my book to every 4th grade student in Arizona. So far, we've given out 300,000. And while this was really exciting and a huge milestone for me, what was even more exciting was knowing that I had control over my community. I saw a gap in my community, and I was able to fix that by writing a book and giving it away. And everyone should know that they can do that also. I visit many Title I schools when I go to speak. Schools in low-income neighborhoods where kids don't have books and libraries don't have all the funding as libraries here. And these kids are the ones who need civic literacy. They're the ones who need to understand what it means to be a good citizen, what it means to have a path going forward. We need to teach all of these kids about civic literacy, not only to empower them, but to also help cut the path of higher dropout rate in later years. And by doing so, we can help them elevate their circumstances, which is such an important concept of being an American. In our country, everyone has, or more accurately should have, the ability to elevate their circumstances. So I'm calling for K-5 civic literacy to help kids become the best version of themselves. We owe it to every child, regardless of economic or financial conditions, to have the best opportunity. I am in the process of writing more K-5 books, and we are hiring writers for our new Literacy is Easy campaign. And let me know if you want in, by the way, because we need lots of help. And we hope to give copies of these books to kids all over in the next 18 months. But some of you might ask, do we really need this? If we teach our kids who makes decisions, how they can protest, and how they can contact them, is this a good idea? Are our representatives going to be getting a lot of prank phone calls? I ask instead, isn't this about time? Kids are more than test scores. They're citizens. Let's empower each and every one of them to thrive through civic literacy and elevate their circumstances. Thank you.